My name is Herlinda Edelman, and the night my family decided I didn't matter, I was sitting alone in the hospital break room, staring at a protein bar I didn't want and couldn't finish. It was just past midnight. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, too bright for how tired I was. My back ached in that deep, familiar way that came from 12-hour shifts and too many nights pretending exhaustion was temporary. My legs burned. I still had one more patient to check on before I could clock out, and I was waiting on lab results that were taking longer than they should have. I opened Facebook without thinking. I wish I hadn't. At first, I didn't fully register what I was looking at. My brain was foggy, slow, the way it gets when you've given everything you have to other people all day. Then the image sharpened, and my heart stuttered. There they were, my mom and dad, my sister Madeline, and a guy I didn't recognize, shirtless, in board shorts, holding a beer, like the world had never asked anything of him. All of them standing on a wide balcony, faces warm and glowing, skin kissed by sun I hadn't felt in years. Behind them stretched a perfect Hawaiian sunset, orange melting into pink, palm trees swaying just enough to look effortless, the ocean catching the light like it had been staged for a postcard. The caption sat above the photo, simple and devastating. Finally, a vacation with people who truly matter. No emojis, no explanation, just that. I read it once. Then again, people who truly matter. I wasn't tagged, I wasn't mentioned, not even a polite omission, just erased, like I'd never existed in the first place. Something tight curled in my chest. I tapped the photo and zoomed in. The railing, the angle of the ocean, the way the sun hit the water. I recognized it instantly. Kona Reef Resort. My breath caught. I'd spent weeks looking at that place once. Late nights, lying in bed with my laptop open, clicking through photo galleries I couldn't justify. I saved screenshots, read reviews, compared prices, told myself maybe one day, when I wasn't covering someone else's emergency. I never booked it. I couldn't afford it. And yet there they were. I didn't scroll. I didn't read the comments. I didn't even feel angry yet. I opened my banking app. The emergency credit card sat right at the top of my linked accounts. It was supposed to be inactive. I'd only kept it open years ago, after my dad had a health scare that landed him in the ER. Back then, it felt responsible, like something a good daughter would do, just in case. You never know. Family looks out for each other. I never removed their access. The charges loaded slowly, one by one. $1 hundreds, $300, $500. Resort booking, spa services, restaurants, an ocean adventure company. My thumb went numb as I scrolled. By the time I reached the bottom, the total stared back at me. $12,426.37, all within 3 days, all under my name. For a moment, I just sat there, listening to the hum of the vending machine behind me and the distant beeping of monitors down the hall. This wasn't a mistake. They hadn't been hacked. They hadn't misunderstood. They hadn't accidentally charged the wrong card. They had booked a luxury vacation, flown across the world, spent over $12,000 on my emergency credit card, and then publicly announced that the people who mattered didn't include me. That realization hurt more than the money. I didn't call. I didn't comment. I didn't send a message asking if something had happened. I disputed every charge. Every single one. I froze the account. I flagged it with the fraud department and answered questions in a voice so calm it surprised even me. Dates, locations, authorization, no, no, no. When I hung up, the card was dead. At least they wouldn't be able to spend more. I went back to work like nothing had happened, checked on my last patient, finished my notes, clocked out with shaking hands. At 6:03 a.m., my phone lit up. Madeline. I let it ring. Then again. And again. By the fourth call, I answered. Not because I wanted to hear her voice, not because I needed an explanation. Just to say one thing. When you land, I said quietly, you'll be getting served. She inhaled sharply, like she wanted to speak. I hung up. They chose this, every part of it. They didn't warn me. They didn't ask. And they didn't even try to hide it. So now they were going to deal with what came next. Because this wasn't just betrayal. It was theft. And I was done pretending that family made it okay. 3 days later, they landed back home, sunburned, jet-lagged, and completely unprepared for what was waiting for them. I didn't need to be there to know panic had set in. My mom must have sensed it first. The comments under her vacation post vanished overnight. The caption changed. No words this time, just 3 harmless flower emojis, like that could undo what she'd said out loud. I saw the edit at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. It didn't help. The morning after I saw the charges, I sat across from a lawyer in a quiet office that smelled faintly of coffee and old paper. I laid everything out: the card, the trip, the photo, the caption. She didn't blink. Unauthorized use of funds, she said calmly. Breach of financial trust. Potential fraud. She paused, then added, I've seen this before. Not often with parents. But enough. That made it easier. Not emotionally. Practically. So when my family walked up to their front door after that perfect Hawaiian vacation, there was a manila envelope waiting for them, filed, notarized, and delivered. Inside was a civil suit. My phone didn't stop buzzing for 2 days straight. Madeline texted first. Hey, can we talk for a minute? Then again, I didn't know the card was yours. She said she thought our parents had saved up. She said she had no idea. She showed up at my apartment and stood in the hallway for 10 minutes, pacing, typing messages she never sent. I watched through this peephole and said nothing. Mom was next. Paragraph after paragraph about how hurt she was, how betrayed, how she couldn't believe I'd do this to family. That word, betray, almost made me laugh. I'd been floating them financially for years. Now I finally understood why, and I was done. By the third day, the noise had a rhythm to it. Calls in the morning, texts by noon, voicemails late at night when guilt felt heavier than pride. I didn't answer any of it. I learned quickly that silence does something terrifying to people who are used to access. Without my responses to push against, my family had nothing to manipulate, no tone to dissect, no apology to twist, no weakness to exploit. So they filled the void themselves. Madeline switched from calling to texting. Long messages at first, rambling explanations about confusion, assumptions, misunderstandings. She swore she thought Mom and Dad had paid for the trip themselves, that she never would have gone if she'd known, that she felt sick thinking about it now. I read every word. I didn't reply. Then she tried shorter messages, softer ones. Please, they're panicking. I didn't know. When that didn't work, she showed up again, buzzed a neighbor to get inside the building, knocked on my door for 5 straight minutes. Not crying, not yelling, just saying my name over and over, like repetition might unlock something. I stood on the other side of the door, perfectly still. Eventually, she slid a folded note underneath. I really didn't know. But they're scared. Please. I left it on the floor where it landed. Mom was next. She didn't call at first. She sent texts, paragraphs stacked on paragraphs, each one dripping with wounded innocence. How could you do this to us? We raised you better than this. Family doesn't drag family into court. That word again. Family. As if it were a shield. As if it erased credit card statements and public humiliation and the quiet assumption that I would always cover the cost. I'd been doing that for years. When Madeline missed a tuition deadline, I paid it without asking questions. When Dad misplaced the property tax notice, I wired the money and told myself it was temporary. When Mom forgot to move funds around before a bill was due, I shrugged and handled it. Each time I told myself it was love. Now I understood it was expectation. On the 4th day, I got an email from a lawyer representing my parents. The tone was polite, professional, almost friendly. He asked what it would take to resolve the situation quickly and privately. I forwarded it to my attorney and dictated my response. $12,426.37, plus filing fees, plus court costs. Certified check, no payment plans, no negotiations. I told him I would withdraw the claim the moment the full amount cleared. An hour later, he replied, they declined. That's when my dad finally called. I let it go to voicemail. His voice sounded different than I remembered. Tight, irritated, like someone forced to confront consequences for the first time. This is insanity, he said. You're tearing the family apart over a vacation. We didn't think it was a big deal. You always help. You always understand. I deleted the message without saving it. Mom followed with a single text this time. This will destroy our family. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I set my phone face down on the table and went to sleep. She was wrong. The family didn't fall apart when I filed the lawsuit. It fell apart the moment they decided I was easy to use and easier to erase. The deadline passed without payment. My attorney filed for default judgment. 2 days later, their lawyer requested an extension. I agreed. Not because I was kind, but because the longer it dragged on, the more real it became for them. That was the day Madeline stopped texting. She started knocking. She came again in the afternoon while I was home, stood outside my door, quiet this time. No pacing, no calls, just waiting. I didn't answer. She slid another note under the door. I'm scared. They didn't think you'd go this far. I finally responded, but not to her. I emailed their lawyer again. Same amount, same conditions, same attachment of documentation. No discounts, no installments, no apologies. I didn't want explanations. I wanted what they took. 2 days later, an envelope arrived. Hand-delivered, no stamp, my dad's handwriting on the front. Inside was a certified check. 12,7. Behind it, a letter written in rushed blue ink. We don't want this to go further. We're sorry it got this far. Please withdraw the claim. We're still your family. Let's talk. That last line sat heavy in my chest. We're still your family. Like money erased intent. Like repayment restored trust. Like I was supposed to forget the caption, the silence, the assumption that I'd stay quiet again. They thought I'd fold. They always did. I deposited the check. I called my lawyer. We filed the withdrawal. On paper, the case was closed. I didn't thank them. I didn't call. I didn't reply. For days, they sent messages anyway. Then emails. Then nothing. A week later, Dad emailed again. Subject line, we love you. The body was a list, reasons why they believed using my card had been reasonable. How stressful things had been. How grateful they were it was over. Madeline sent one last message. We're lucky to still have each other. That word, lucky, felt insulting. They still didn't understand. The lawsuit wasn't the punishment. It was the warning. The retaliation came quietly. No dramatic confrontation, no phone call. Just an automated email from the family business. My access revoked. QuickBooks password changed. No greeting, no explanation. I'd supported that business for years, unpaid, behind the scenes, keeping things afloat when cash ran thin. Now I was out. Worse, the $11,500 I was owed from a past investment suddenly disappeared. The office claimed it was a personal contribution, not a formal agreement. No paperwork, no discussion. Just a razor. That same week, a former employee reached out. He asked if we could talk, said there were things I should see. We met quietly. He handed me a flash drive. Inside were emails, internal messages. One from my dad made my stomach turn. Herlinda has savings. She'll forgive us like always. That was all I needed. I sent it to my attorney. She didn't hesitate. This isn't just unpaid funds, she said. This is fraud. We filed again. This time for the investment, for damages, for everything they thought they could bury. The total came out to just under $180,000. They panicked. Dad left a voicemail that night, fear cracking through his voice for the first time. You got what you wanted, he said. Don't ruin us. They tried to settle. First $20,000, then $40,000. I rejected both. 3 days before the hearing, another check arrived. The full amount. No note, no apology, just silence. Legally, it was over. Emotionally, it was permanent. Trust was gone. Family ties severed. I waited. Part of me still did, for something real. A conversation, accountability, anything that didn't sound like strategy. Nothing came. A week later, my cousin sent a screenshot. Dad had posted on Facebook. Loyalty doesn't mean much these days. Some wounds don't come from strangers. It got 6 likes. I didn't engage. I was already somewhere else. After the second check cleared, something strange happened. The noise stopped. No calls, no texts, no emails pretending to care. Just silence. For years, I'd lived inside a constant hum of obligation. Someone always needing something, forgetting something, miscalculating something that somehow became my responsibility. When that hum vanished, the quiet felt unnatural at first, like stepping off a moving walkway and realizing your legs don't know how to stop. Legally, everything was finished. Emotionally, nothing was. I moved apartments, closer to the hospital, smaller, quieter. I stopped picking up extra shifts. Not because I couldn't handle the work, but because I no longer needed to outrun guilt. I started sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Then the messages started again, but not from my parents. From relatives, carefully worded, indirect, all circling the same idea without saying it outright. I'm sure there's more to the story. Your parents are having a hard time. Families make mistakes. My uncle in Ohio was the boldest. Herlinda, you've always been reasonable. This has to be a misunderstanding. Just talk to your mother. I stared at that message for a long time. They always called me reasonable. What they meant was predictable. I didn't respond. That was when I realized something important. The lawsuit hadn't changed how my family saw me. It had only revealed how they always had. A week later, a letter arrived from the family business. Not legal, not hostile. An invitation. They wanted to meet, to talk things through, to rebuild. Clients had started pulling back. Vendors were cautious. The second lawsuit had shaken confidence in ways money couldn't fix. They needed stability. They needed me. I waited 7 days before replying. Then I mailed back a single-page letter. I wished them well. I declined the meeting. I made it clear I would not be returning. now or ever. 3 quiet weeks followed. No drama, no retaliation, no emotional bait. For the first time in my adult life, I could breathe. Then came the email from Nicole, my dad's former assistant. Subject line, please meet me, it's important. We met at a small cafe in Echo Park, tucked away from foot traffic. She looked thinner than I remembered, tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. She didn't waste time. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were memos, emails, financial summaries. My name jumped off the page. 2 years earlier, I had given the business $11,000 to help expand equipment. I had been told it was temporary, that I'd get returns once things stabilized. According to these documents, the account had grown by more than $14,500, and my name had been removed, not accidentally, intentionally. They'd scrubbed it from ownership records shortly after the account was created, rewritten history, and kept collecting profits. They knew you wouldn't question them, Nicole said quietly. They counted on that. Then she told me why she'd really left. She hadn't quit for health reasons. She'd challenged my dad about unauthorized transfers and was told, very clearly, to stay out of family business. Before she walked away, she copied everything. She handed me a flash drive. It goes deeper, she said. They're still doing it. That night, I sat on my couch for 3 hours, going through the files. My name appeared again. And again. 3 hidden accounts. 1 note referencing cutting out a cousin from a promised deal. Emails discussing how to simplify ownership. This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. The check hadn't ended anything. It had just bought time. I wasn't just the scapegoat anymore. I was the whistleblower. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was panicking, but because my mind was finally quiet enough to hear the truth forming clearly. Everything I'd seen on the flash drive didn't shock me the way it should have. It didn't feel like a sudden revelation. It felt like confirmation, like finding proof of something your body already knew, but your heart kept arguing against. This wasn't about one vacation, or one credit card, or even one lawsuit. It was about a role. I had been assigned it years ago. The dependable one, the reasonable one, the one who wouldn't make noise, the one who paid quietly and asked questions later, if at all. By morning, I'd already forwarded copies of everything Nicole gave me to my attorney. She called within an hour. This is ongoing fraud, she said, and not just against you. That word, ongoing, settled heavily in my chest. It meant the checks hadn't stopped it. The lawsuits hadn't stopped it. Even getting caught hadn't stopped it. They just adjusted. We filed again. This time, it wasn't just about recovering money. It was about exposure. My name went on record as a claimant tied to hidden accounts, falsified ownership, and intentional misrepresentation. Regulators were notified. Documentation was logged. Timelines were established. I didn't tell my family. They found out anyway. Dad left 3 voicemails in one night. The first was angry, the second desperate, the third quiet. You're taking this too far, he said in the last one. We already paid you. What do you want from us? I listened to it once. Then I deleted it, because for the first time I knew the answer. I didn't want anything from them. Not money, not apologies, not reconciliation meetings disguised as strategy. I wanted distance. The fallout didn't explode, it eroded. Slowly. Banks asked questions. Vendors hesitated. Clients delayed contracts. Nothing dramatic enough for headlines. Just enough pressure to make things uncomfortable, unstable, uncertain. The family business survived, but barely. And I wasn't there to save it. Weeks passed. Then months. No one reached out. No, how are you? No, can we talk? No attempts at repair that weren't transactional. That told me everything I needed to know. One afternoon, my cousin sent me another screenshot. My dad had posted again. Some people confuse boundaries with betrayal. This time there were fewer likes. I didn't respond. I was unpacking boxes in my new apartment, sunlight pouring through windows I'd chosen on purpose. I'd stopped checking my phone first thing in the morning. Stopped bracing myself for emergencies that weren't mine. I took a short trip to Seattle a few weeks later. Not Hawaii. But it was quiet. And it was mine. And I paid for it without fear or guilt or explanation. Standing near the water, wrapped in a jacket against the cold, I realized something that made my throat tighten. I hadn't lost a family. I'd lost an illusion. The belief that love meant endurance. That loyalty meant sacrifice without limits. That being needed was the same as being valued. I wasn't hard to love. I was easy to use. And once I stopped allowing it, there was nothing left for them to reach for. The last message I ever received came months later, an automated notification from the family business confirming the closure of an account tied to my name. No note, no acknowledgement, just confirmation. I closed the email, shut my laptop, and went back to my life. Not angry, not triumphant, just free.